Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. I'm ready.
KPRC, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Laid out of the hospital properly. No one was hurt. Arson investigators are on the scene. Tragic situation in Friendswood. Investigators told us they pulled a man's body from a lake last night. This is from the Friendswood Fire Department. The victim possibly drowned in Lake Friendswood after going into the water around 6 in the evening. His body was recovered a few hours later by the League City dive team. It's not clear why he went into the water.
Time right now is 5:05 this morning. Community members and law enforcement officers are gathering together to honor the life of San Jacinto deputy who died.
Okay. Hi, Christina. This is Houston. Stand by.
Died in a crash while responding to a call on Saturday. His body was taken to Cold Spring in San Jacinto County yesterday, where a visitation was held. While there, we spoke with San Jacinto County Sheriff Greg Capers, who said Pfluger was always striving to be a great servant for the community.
He was an inspiration to most all of the patrolmen. He had that no-quit attitude. He was a guy that always asked questions. He would always want to know about his job, how to better do his job. He always wanted to be the best that he could be.
A second viewing is going to be held on Saturday morning at the First Baptist Church in Pflugerville, which is just northeast of Austin. His funeral will be that afternoon.
Folks in Chicago are getting a gift from Mother Nature. Temperatures have been hovering well above 50 degrees, which is a rare occurrence for them this time of year. According to the National Weather
Stand by, Christina. We'll go to you in 20 seconds.
Which is, look, they're on their jet skis out in the lake. How about that? Boy, oh boy, you never know when old man winter might come swooping back in, so you got to get out there and enjoy it.
All right, well, now to the future of space. An American astronaut is getting ready to make history. Christina Koch is going to set the record for the longest mission by a woman in space.
She will not return to Earth until February 6th. Koch will be at that point in space, will have been in space 328 days. She'll land in Kazakhstan again on a Russian Soyuz spacecraft. And guess what? She's live with us this morning, Christina from the International Space Station. Good morning. Thanks for being with us. How you doing so far?
Yeah.
I mean, there's, whatever, 6 weeks or so to go.
Good morning. Yes, great to be with you, and thank you for being up here with us.
Christina,
welcome on board. That's true, about 6 more weeks. And the International Space Station has you loud and clear.
Nice. And we saw you guys got to enjoy spending the holidays in space.
We did. It is truly a special place to spend the holidays. We're all best friends up here, like space brothers and sisters. So we brought some of our traditions from home. We got a chance to video chat with our friends and family from home, and we brought those traditions up here on board with us. So it was a great day.
Christina, we've talked a lot on the news about this first all-female spacewalk that you were a part of earlier in the fall. What was that like for you? A moment of pride, we imagine, but can you tell us a little more about it?
You know, it was a great honor to be part of that. It wasn't something I was necessarily tracking throughout my years of training, but in the end, when it turned out to be something that I was fortunate enough to do with my crewmate Jessica, who I've also been training with for many, many years, and we're very close, it was just such a special thing. I hope that it was kind of twofold. It's an inspiration, hopefully, to future space explorers, but also our way to kind of pay homage to those who had just really paved the way for us to be there that day. Our heroes and heroines throughout the years that had done the groundwork leading up to that, and also our teams on the ground that trained us. So we were just happy that we were able to give back in that way.
All right, thank you. Christina Koch live from the International Space Station this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you haven't already, she has amazing social media pages. She posts pictures all the time. They're so cool to look at, so check those out.
We love following you, Christina, and best of luck with your last, I guess, a month or so in space.
Yeah, a little over.
Thank you. We'll see you again in Houston soon.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the KPRC portion of our event. Please stand by for a checkout with WSOC.
Foggy, right, Keith?
Yeah, I was talking about this just a moment ago, that thicker fog showing up to the southeast. There's a dense fog advisory for Anson and Richmond counties. This is a much bigger issue as you head toward Raleigh this morning.
Station, this is Blaine Tollison with WSOC. How do you hear me?
Yeah, traveling on Highway 74. Yeah, be ready.
Station has you loud and clear.
Down there. Looking at clouds building in from the west. We'll see more of this streaming in through this afternoon and throughout the entire weekend. This rain won't get here today nor tomorrow.
Hello from North Carolina. It is an honor and privilege to speak with you. Is there anything you're missing from your home state?
Impact it'll have on your Sunday plans. Now let's get back out on the road.
Hello, good morning. It's an honor to speak with you, and thanks for being on board today. There's a lot I miss from North Carolina, especially my friends and family that are down there. My best friends are in North Carolina, and my family lives in Durham and also still on the coast where I grew up. So getting videos from them, seeing them go to their schools down in North Carolina and everything like that is just so much fun, and I can't wait to see them again in a couple months.
I-77 northbound between Carowinds and Uptown at nearly 70 miles per hour.
You're an inspiration to so many of us on Earth, especially girls. We pulled 2 questions from 9-year-old Evelyn and 10-year-old Lucy, sisters from Matthews, North Carolina, who have an interest in science. And their questions: how long did it take to become an astronaut? And did you know when you were a little girl that you wanted to become an astronaut?
Through the terrifying moments, she didn't know if she'd survive.
Those are great questions, and they actually tie together because in some ways you could say it can take a lifetime to become an astronaut, or ever since the time that you dare to dream that you want to become one. I have wanted to be an astronaut ever since I was a little girl growing up in North Carolina. Looking up at the night sky from my small town in eastern North Carolina really helped me ponder kind of the scale of the universe, and that's what first ignited the fire for me of exploration. Also just the ocean, being able to go out on my boat with my family, and just again things that made me feel small and made me think about the size of the universe and all there was to explore. So in terms of that, you could say I've been trying to be an astronaut since I was a little girl in North Carolina. But when I was accepted, it was then 6 more years of training before I found myself here on board the International Space Station. So it can be quite a long path, but it's a rewarding one.
Kids to adult sizes. Your co-donations will be distributed to children.
It's incredible to watch and learn about the path that you've taken. And when you were a kid, was there an approach to learning or a teacher who helped you the most academically on the path to where you are now?
You know, when I look back, I think about the things that inspired me the most to be great were the things that were the most challenging. And I think when you really reach to accomplish things that you might think are right outside of your grasp at first, and then you do attain those goals, those are the ones that are most rewarding to you personally, and they also are the ones that end up giving the most back to the world around you. So I would say striving to always kind of take on the next big challenge ahead of me, and also to use exploration as a model for learning and something that excites you and ignites you, thinking about what you're passionate about, what are you inquisitive about, where do you want to go with your knowledge base, and your knowledge learning is something that you can use as a guide as well.
Bring the whole family together for the original holiday tradition. Step into it.
And to wrap up, we've watched your social media accounts and your experiments and the work you've done up there. There's so many incredible things and accomplishments. Out of all of it, what has been the most meaningful to you personally during your time in flight?
Today.
You know, you're right, and I feel the same way. It's been such an honor and a privilege to be a part of so many different aspects of human spaceflight on board the International Space Station here, between science and spacewalks and everything. But what means the most to me really is being a part of the team that got me here and giving back every day to that team. And that team includes my crewmates. It includes ground teams that not only train me, but those that work every day to make us to help us execute the plan up here, do great things, to do that science, to do those spacewalks, and also even going back to the teams of engineers that designed this amazing laboratory. So really just being a part of that and giving back every single day is what means the most to me.
Sinkhole that is worrying some neighbors in East Charlotte. The people who...
Thank you.
Feet deep. Wow. Jerome Jones says...
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the WSOC portion of our event. Please stand by for a checkout with CNN New Day Weekends.
Yes. Do we have that? Do we have that in the prompter? All right. Good morning, Christina Koch. This is Christy Paul with CNN New Day Weekend. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Welcome on board the International Space Station.
Oh, my goodness. I have to tell you that I was in NASA with my daughter, and we watched you prepare for your spacewalk, your historic spacewalk in October. You have, here you are, you're going to eclipse the last person, we know Peggy Whitson's record of 288 days in space. How are you feeling knowing that you are going to be you're going to break the record for the woman who has spent the most time in space thus far?
Well, having the opportunity to do that and to be up here for so long is truly an honor. And Peggy in particular is one of my heroines, and she's been a mentor to me. So it's a great reminder to try to make her proud, and then also to do mentorship when I get home to sort of pay that back. I hope that breaking the record is both, good for outreach and also inspiration. Outreach because it kind of gets the conversation going about state of the art, where we are in human exploration, and inspiring because I think kind of as a milestone, it can motivate people. I know for me personally, it motivates me every single day, on those rough days, remembering that, yeah, this might be hard because it hasn't been done before, and I do have to bring my best to every single day. And on that point, I like to think of the record as, it's not so much how many days you're up here, but what you bring to each day. So another great reminder to just bring your best. It's a wonderful thing for science. We see another aspect of how the human body is affected by microgravity for the long term, and that's really important for our future spaceflight plans going forward to the moon and to Mars. Overall, though, I have to say that my biggest hope for the record is that it's exceeded as soon as possible again, and that's because it just would mean we're continuing to push those boundaries.
I know that in October you had this historic all-female spacewalk. Tell me what that was like.
It was an incredible honor. I have to say that it wasn't necessarily something on my radar from the start of my training, but then in the end, to have the opportunity to do that and to do it with another crewmate of mine who I've been training with for so long, Jessica Meir, was truly just inspirational both for us, but it was our honor to be able to hopefully inspire the next generation of human space explorers, and also to pay homage for those that paved the way for us to be here, not only our heroines who had actually done spacewalks in the past, but our training teams and the teams that we work with to make spacewalks happen. So it was overall just an incredible honor, and I just feel privileged to have been a part of it.
Astronaut Cook, I think a lot of people look at you, even right now, in the space that you're in, and they think, what do you do all day long? From, March 14th when you got there, I know you're not coming back until February. That is such a long time to be there. Talk to me about what happens on a daily basis for you.
On board here, we have similar lives to what you might have on the ground. We come to work every day, and those work days consist of a lot of things that both bring benefits back to Earth, like the science that we do up here that benefits life on Earth, as well as a lot of maintenance and upgrades to keep the station running at its peak performance. In our off time, we get to spend time with each other, keeping in touch with our family and friends, and of course looking out the window and taking pictures of Earth and kind of reflecting on our place there. So it's really a mix. Life on board, in some ways, like I said, is just like life on Earth. You have some of the same challenges up here and some of the same rewards, and I think all of that works together to make it an incredible and very enriched experience.
How do you handle holidays in space? Well, we just, of course, had the Christmas holiday, and New Year's is coming up, but what is that like there? Because you talk about wanting to be with your family, and there's only so many ways to do that, obviously, based on where you are.
Celebrating the holidays up here is a lot of fun, and it's because it's so unique. So it's an opportunity to bring those traditions from our families at home on board and share them with our crewmates, and that's exactly what we did. We each talked about how we spend Christmas at home with our friends and family, and we each kind of incorporated that up here. So it was a really unique day to be in space and a special one, and we did have the chance to sort of video chat with our friends and family on the ground, so I felt like I was part of that Christmas celebration as well. So it's a really special time up here. And again, just such a privilege to be on board for that and have that memory.
You have shared some really remarkable images from your vantage point on social media. Has there ever been a moment for you where you saw something and you were just in awe? That probably happens often, but I'm asking if there's one thing in particular that you have seen in your time up there that will always stay with you, or that changed you.
There are several to pick from, but if I had to say just one, I would say it is seeing the northern lights and the southern lights, the aurora, from above on the planet. I have had the opportunity to work in Antarctica and in the Arctic, where we commonly see the northern lights and southern lights from the ground looking up into the sky, and it's absolutely inspiring even to see that there. And so to see it from above and kind of on that planetary scale and to recognize how it looks and how it forms from both perspectives really just was an absolutely awe-inspiring sight, and one that I will never forget.
What do you hope girls learn from you in your experience about what's possible for them in the future?
And I'm going to have to ask you to repeat that. I didn't quite get that question.
You mentioned at the beginning of our interview that you're looking forward to coming back and being a mentor. So I'm wondering what you're hoping girls learn from you once you come back and speak to them. What is your hope for them?
My hope for people that are pursuing their dreams is that they're following their passions and that they're always reaching out and reaching a little farther than what they think they can do. One piece of advice that I often offer is do what scares you. And I say that because I think everyone should think about what intrigues them and what sort of draws them in. And those things can kind of be scary a little bit, but they usually mean that you're interested. And if it's just outside what you think is attainable for you, and then you reach that goal, it really pays off dividends in more ways than one. It can be rewarding for you personally, and it usually means that you're giving back to the world in the maximum way possible. So that's a piece of advice that I'd like to share with everybody.
All right. We saw earlier when you were talking, you let go of your mic, and we saw your microphone, and we saw it kind of flip as it was floating in space. Anything cool that you can show us?
Well, I did think about conducting the entire interview upside down, but I thought that could be a little bit confusing.
Well, astronaut Christina Koch, thank you so much for taking time for us, and congratulations. We have so many. This is such a big record, and it really says a lot, I think, to the women and the girls that are watching about what's possible for them, and you're leading that way. Can't wait to hear from you when you're back and hear more about your experience. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your interest, and Happy New Year to you, too.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the CNN New Day Weekends portion of our event. Please stand by for a checkout with CBS This Morning.
Oh. Okay, stand by. Quiet. Quiet. We can say hello. Hello. Station, this is Jerika Duncan.
And I'm Vladimir Gutierrez.
And Dana Jacobson with CBS This Morning. How do you read me?
Good morning. The International Space Station has you loud and clear. Welcome aboard.
NASA astronaut Christina Koch is about to make history for the second time this year. Tomorrow will be her 289th consecutive day in space, breaking Peggy Whitson's old record for the longest single space flight by a woman.
In October, Cook took part in the first all-female spacewalk. She and fellow astronaut Jessica Meir placed a faulty battery unit. Christina Koch joins us from the International Space Station. Good morning to you.
Good morning and welcome on board.
Yeah, good to be with you. Well, first and foremost, tomorrow you're expected to break Peggy Whitson's record for the longest single space flight by a female astronaut. What is that like for you? What has this experience been like?
Well, first and foremost, it's a huge honor. Peggy is a heroine of mine who's also been kind enough to mentor me through the years, and so it's a reminder to give back and to mentor when I get back. I also like to think of it as it's not so much how many days you're up here, but what you do with each of those days. So that reminds me to bring my best to every single day. I hope that it is both good for outreach and also an inspiration. In outreach, we can think of it as we're talking about this, so it kind of shares the news of where we are, the state of the art of human exploration. And inspirational because I hope that a milestone like this can provide motivation for others. I know for me, it actually motivates me too, because on those rough days, I remind myself, this hasn't been done before. It makes sense that it's hard. It makes sense that I've got to, dig deep sometimes. I think it's wonderful for science. It helps us push the boundaries of what we know about what long-duration spaceflight can do to the human body, and that's important for our future exploration deeper into going to Mars and also returning to the moon and going there to stay. But overall, I'd have to say that my number one hope for this milestone is that the record is exceeded again as soon as possible, because that means that we're continuing to push the boundaries.
Pushing boundaries is becoming the norm for you right now. Back in October, you and Jessica Meir had that first all-female spacewalk, and you both wrote so beautifully about it and in talking about it. Why do you think we're seeing these milestones now for women in space?
I think it's a wonderful time for human spaceflight, because I think we finally recognize that it's not worth going unless we go together, that it's important to not turn away any innovative idea, that everyone has a role and everyone has a place at the table as we move forward. If we're going to go for all humanity and to support humanity's love for exploration, then we have to do it with all humanity. And I think we're seeing that as our plans unfold for going back to the moon, seeing the first woman walk on the moon in 2024, and just recognizing that we have to go together if we're going to go, and we're going to do it right.
Christina, I love how you say you go for all of humanity, which has sort of been the mission of astronauts going back to the very first Gemini astronauts. But NASA says that this all-female spacewalk was not even intentionally planned, given its historic nature. But how do you feel about all the attention that has been given to breaking all those barriers?
That's exactly right. I think that the first all-female spacewalk was more a result of where we've decided to go. My class was trained right in step. We were all trained together, and we're the first class that's half female and half male, and class of astronauts, and we were never held to any different standards or expectations, and that was the beauty of it. To me, it's an opportunity to inspire, and I think that highlighting the fact that it was the first all-female EVA spacewalk is important, because seeing those milestones be broken sort of tells people where we're at and where we think that the importance lies. I think that it's inspiring because future space explorers do need to see people that remind them of themselves, and they see a piece of themselves in to kind of bring that inspiration home. I know that was certainly true for me in my background. So to have the opportunity to do that for future space explorers is a real honor.
And Christina, obviously you're there to do science, but you've also become well known for the pictures, the photography that you've taken. What's the most memorable thing that you've seen since you've been up there?
So many things come to mind. It was wonderful to see the places where I grew up from space for the first time, but I would say the most awe-inspiring thing that I've ever seen is the northern lights or southern lights, or aurora as we call them, from above on a planetary scale. I've had the opportunity working in Antarctica and the Arctic to see them from below and the beautiful shimmering lights along the sky and taking over the whole sky, but to look down on the Earth and see the entire shape of the auroras, you know, as they form near the poles was truly an amazing sight and just literally took my breath away.
As a fellow Michigander, I loved the shout out to the mission. I have to say that.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, Christina Koch, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing just seeing you up there, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure to be with you all.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes our event as we count down to 20 continuous years of humans living and working on the International Space Station.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.